There was a low, heavy, and loud noise, and we were completely cut off from the outside world, and covered in silent darkness. Takano-san's lantern was the only light we had.
大丈夫よ。予備電池も入ってるアウトドア仕様なんだから。冷えたりなんかしないわよ。
Looks like Takano noticed my uneasy expression. I couldn't help but blush a little and avert my gaze. Deeper inside, there was a heavy and old but sturdy door with solemn decorations on it. It was the last door sealing away what was within.
ただの倉庫なのに前室があるなんて変わってるでしょ。一度に1枚ずつ扉を出入りさせることによって細具殿の中が外に見えないようにする工夫だと考えられるわね。
Takano-san explained this, awfully impressed by the construction. But still, it's really dark in here. Huh? That over there, it's... I spotted a circuit breaker hanging from a clump of wiring, clumsily attached to the wall.
あ、これ、明かりのブレーカーか何かじゃないですか?
I flipped the biggest switch I could find, and with a click, the pitch-black room was illuminated by an old bear-like bulb. Everyone scrunched up their faces at the sudden strobe-like brightness.
ダメです。
Before she even finished, Shion slapped my hand and flipped the switch back. Oh. There was another loud click, and the room returned to darkness, with only the lantern for illumination.
いてててて。
ダメです、ケイちゃん。私たち、ここに忍び込んでるんですよ。明かりなんかつけたら、バレちゃうかもしれないじゃないですか。
I'm scolded by Shion fairly harshly. It looked like she was worried about whether someone had seen them from the momentary light.
大丈夫よ。本当に一瞬だし。
Takano-san remained a relaxed adult. It seemed like she was confident she could talk her way out of it if someone did see us.
さあ、入りましょう。よいしょっと。
The even heavier door opened, and this time it wasn't just the dust that came out with the air. There was also a nasty smell. One smell was like opening a dust-filled cupboard in the back of the kitchen that hadn't been opened in years. And the other smell, the nasty one, was hard to explain. It was like the raw odor of a fish market. From how the sound echoed, this room felt far larger than the first. Takano-san held up her lantern and revealed the contents of the expensive room. At the back wall of the storehouse, right in front of us, was a Buddha-like holy object, standing there, looking down at us. I was taken aback by its unseen force, lit up by the slender beam of the lantern.
あれがHinamizawaの守り神、お社様よ。
Oh. What is that table right over there? Jesus Christ. What are these tools right over here? All these weird things on the right. What?
社にあるのよりずっと立派ですね。
Like that table right over there, that actually gave me a little bit of a goosebump. Yashiro-sama. So this is the spirit protecting Hinamizawa. The one guarding the holy land of Hinamizawa from the impurities of the outside world. And the one delivering punishment after punishment upon these who attempted to sully the land with the damn construction.
想像してたよりたくさんの細具が収められているようね。でも残念。どれもあまり手入れがされていないわ。状態が悪いのが悔やまれるわね。
Even in the dim light, I could see a lot of strange objects lining the walls, ceilings, and shelves. Takano-san, speaking as if in a trance, was infatuated by the various implements filling the dark room. Like, it's really hard to even process what half of this stuff is. Like something of a rope with cubes in them? Like some kind of tool that looks like the mouth of a shark? And that thing, like, in the middle, well, like, looks like partially an iron will slash, like, water lever? Something like that. As if there is like a hammer on top of the anvil. I don't think that's what it is. There's obviously like a place there on the left that is like an apparatus for sharpening your tools and such, but it's weirdly shaped too as well. Like what? And cages as well. They weren't very festival-like or traditional. Instead, it was more like the workshop of a blacksmith or a carpenter. Maybe even more than that. There were a lot of large wooden and metal tools back in here. Putting it bluntly, it was all pretty boring stuff. Boring stuff? Keiichi, do you even see well? I'd imagine there would be more artistic things in here from the Heian period, but these are a far cry from being cultural artifacts. My expression betrayed my dash ropes, and they caught on right away.
あら、面白くないかしら？
俺は文系でも美術系でもないんで、あんまりこういうのを見てもよく価値がわからないです。
圭一くんはよくわかってないみたいね。無理もないけれど。
Takana-san's reached into a paper bag that she'd been holding the whole time, took out a worn scrapbook, and began to flip through it. I do also have to remind myself that, when Higurashi was first released, it was... Okay. Takano in the manga gamer sprite. It was like this. You don't really get like a visual for what is inside here, so it could be just regular old ass tools for blacksmiths and carpenters. But what I see here in this dimension, like, is it just me? Is this normal? is this normal tools to have for a blacksmith slash carpenter?
じゃあ、圭一くんのために昔話でも聞かせてあげようかしら。
Like freaking cages on the ceiling too? Why would you put like cages there?
この地方では一般的な昔話よ。図書館に行けば教育委員会推薦の本にも載ってるくらいにね。
Telling stories in such a dark, creepy place? Ooh. She must have a horror story in mind. Shion's face bellied nothing but calm. If she had the same personality as Mion, she'd have found fault with me being scared. I'll endure it for now and pretend to be calm.
いい？じゃあ、読むわよ。
After confirming that I was going to be quiet in this, she began to speak softly, like a kindergarten teacher reading a picture book.
昔々、ある山奥の村にね、沼があったの。その沼はね、底なしの深い深い沼でね、地の底の鬼の国につながっていたんですって。
The rumor said that it was deeper than the ocean, and that anyone it swallowed would sink into the underworld, a bottomless swamp. Its name was Onigafuchi. Wait. I thought back to the story I heard yesterday about the sacrifices sinking in the bottomless swamp. Could that be the swamp she's talking about?
ってことは、その村はひなみ沢ですね。
察しがいいわね。そうよ。当時は鬼ヶ淵村って呼ばれてたけどね。
鬼ヶ淵村。物騒な響きのある名前だな。
イメージもあったんでしょうね。明治の頃に今の名前に改称されたって聞きました。
The name of the song connected to hell was called Onigafuchi, which meant the demon's abyss. And the true name of this village, Hinamizawa, was Onigafuchi village.
村人たちは鬼の国、つまりは地獄のことね。鬼の国とつながるという沼を崇めながら過ごしてきたの。でもね、ある日のこと。
Demons began to appear, one after the other, from deep in the swamp. The villagers feared that hell was overflowing. The demons mercilessly attacked the villagers. And they could only watch in fear. They could do no more than hide themselves and tremble.
で、誰かが鬼を退治するわけですか？
残念だけど、このお話には桃太郎みたいな正義の味方は登場しないわ。
じゃあ、村を挙げて戦うわけですか？
まさか、村人たちに鬼と互角に戦える力などあるわけもない。
じゃあ、村を捨てて逃げるしかないですよね。
それも無理ね。村人たちにとっても、村は大切な郷里だったから。どんな恐ろしい鬼が攻めてきたからといって簡単に逃げ出せるはずもなかったのよ。
じゃあどうするんですか？滅びるしかないじゃないですか。
Unable to fight and unable to run, all they could do was wait for the village to be destroyed. And then, when everyone had lost hope, their god, Oyashiro-sama, descended onto them.
なるほど。つまり天からやってきたお社様が鬼たちをやっつけるわけですか。
ケイちゃんは男の子ですね。すぐに腕力で解決する方に走るんですから。
Shion sighed, a little annoyed. Embarrassed, I held my tongue. Oh, it's not just him. I've been watching a lot of My Hero Academia recently, and I would make some references here and there about it in similar fashion.
お社様はね、やっつけるとかそういう暴力的な神様じゃなかったの。もっと優しい慈愛のある神様だったの。
The strength of Oyashiro-sama descended from the heavens couldn't be compared to that of the demons. They didn't even fight. They simply prostrated themselves before his radiant authority. Oyashiro-sama urged them to go back to hell from whence they came, but the demons wept and challenged him, saying they could never return.
鬼たちの世界にも厳しい戒律があってね。彼らは地獄を追放された鬼たちだったんですって。
Demons who didn't have a place to go, neither in hell nor in the human world. Of course, they were at fault for attacking the village. They deeply reflected on it and were sorry.
村人たちも話を聞くうちに少しずつ気の毒になっていったわ。それでね、村のみんなで話し合った結果、鬼たちと一緒に住むことを決めたの。
退治するとか追っ払うっていう昔話は多いけど、共存ってのは確かに珍しいですね。
ですよね。鬼ってのは元来諸悪の象徴のはず。それとの共存を決めたというお話なんだから本当に変わってます。
When the demons first heard the villagers' invitation, they doubted their ears, but soon burst into tears of joy. The villagers had given them a place to live. who said that in payment for this good deed, the demons shared their many kinds of power and secrets with the villagers.
お社様はその微笑ましい交流をとても喜んでね、鬼たちが村人と分け隔てなく暮らせるよう人間の姿を与えたんですって。そして自らも地上にとどまり、末永く両者の交流を見守ることにしたんだそうよ。
A land in which man, demon, and god lived together. I had thought the word demon was a noun meaning evil that needs to be exterminated. A god may have mediated for them, but you don't often hear happy endings like that where both sides live in harmony. I've known my fair share of good demons, that's for sure. I see. I guess it is kind of interesting.
普通のおとぎ話ならここで終わりなんだけどね。このお話は江戸時代にだいぶ加筆されたみたいで、まだまだ続く随分と長い話になってるわ。
After that, the humans and demons intermixed. Eventually, there was no difference between them.
鬼の存在は結局村に溶け込んで消えてしまったということですか？
いいえ、消えたりなんかしないです。半分はしっかりと残ってたそうですよ。
The knowledge the villagers had received from the demons basically made them into something inhuman, what people call transcendent. They were well aware the power they had was heresy, and as those below worshipped them, they lived out their lives in secrecy.
このお話がね、その後に派生するたくさんの昔話、フィクションの原点になってるの。だからこのお話がある意味基礎中の基礎、ベーシックね。
原点ってどういう意味ですか？
村人たちは鬼の血を引いているという部分ですね。つまりこの辺りに伝わるさまざまな伝承や昔話は全部その村の人たちは鬼の血を引いているというのが前提になっているんです。
Well, the imagery of humans acting like demons, we've seen that in the first chapter, that's for sure. There was a hint of amusement in Shion's face as she said that. It was like she wanted to say that she too had demon blood in her. Is there any proof though? Maybe it's somehow rooted in historical fact beyond just fairy tales.
あら、じゃあ前原くんは沼から鬼が現れて人間と交わったっていうのは本当にあった出来事だって信じてるのかしら？
信じないわけじゃないんですけど。
When she said demon, she meant the ones from hell, but in ancient Japan, the word wasn't necessarily used to denote only that kind, right? I mean, yeah. Let's not forget that we're talking about Japanese here, with their own way of seeing demons. Like, I keep thinking of the Christian-like way of seeing demons. Like, red with wings and going... The more well-known use... Of course, there's also the anime interpretation of demons, which... Well, we've seen plenty of that in Imineko. Not gonna say no to that kind of interpretation. The more well-known use involves the drifting foreigner theory. As the story goes, Westerners who were shipwrecked in nearby seas had such markedly different customs that they were called demons. Japanese people were relatively similar in appearance to other Asians, but everything about those from the West was different. Their physiques, their faces, and their skin color. In Japan, terms like red demon and blue demon evoke images especially of Westerners. Lacking skin pigments, Westerners would sunburn easily and turn red. Oh. Being fair-skinned, I think blood vessels appearing on their skin will look blue too. A handful of accidental aliens would drift into Japan and persecution, being called demons. They would flee into the mountains to survive, turn into bandit groups, and attack villages for food and the like.
なんて説はどうでしょう。ちょっと子供じみてますかね。
Takano gave me a weird smile when, having come up with such an impromptu hypothesis, I cautiously followed it up with self-deprecation. Still, she didn't smile as if to make fun of me.
別におかしくないわよ。実際に漂流偉人説を唱える人もいるもの。でも実際はどうなのかは誰にもわからない。山賊化した偉人の集団だったのか、本当に地の底から来た鬼たちだったのかね。
じゃあ、高野さんはどっちを信じてるんですか？
真相は別にして、夢のある方を信じたいわね。その方が面白いでしょう。
Her answer made her sound a wee bit like a romanticist. Here I thought she'd reject unrealistic stories like that.
さて、いよいよここからよ。面白くなるのは。
Takano-san brought an end to our storytelling and waits for a moment as if to tantalize us.
Huh?
Suddenly, Shion looked around, as if something had caught her eye. Her head bobbed to and fro. She was making sure nothing had changed.
どうしたシオン？
ごめんなさい。気にしないでください。
Shion pretended as though nothing had happened. Takano-san also made sure nothing had happened, then cleared her throat and broached the next subject.
村人たちに半分鬼の血が流れてるのは話したわね。実はその血なんだけど、鬼は鬼でも人食い鬼の血なんだって言われてるの。
人食い鬼ですか？急に物騒な響きになりましたね。
その血は今でも村人たちには脈々と流れていてね、時折その血が眠りを覚ますと言われてるわ。
I thought the fairy tale had a happy ending, with the humans and demons living in peace. But it began to suddenly change into a brutal, bloody story.
人食い鬼だから何十年かに一度、どうしても人肉が食べたくて仕方がなくなる周期があるんですって。だからって村人同士で共食いするわけにはいかない。だから彼らはその度に人里へ降り、鬼隠しをしたと伝えられてるわ。
何ですか？鬼隠しって。
平たく言えば鬼たちによる誘拐行為よ。鬼ヶ淵村の村人たちが人里に押し寄せ、哀れな生贄を無理やり力ずくでさらったんですって。
Takano-san's explanation was plain and simple, but when I imagined what it must have been like, it was terrifying. They lose their human reason. The villagers turn into real demons en masse. They attack the villages they loathe, and the dirty world of the masses below. And then they kill and eat their sacrifices.
それじゃあ鬼と何ら変わりないじゃないですか。お社様はどうしたんです？その村にとどまって人々を見守ってるんじゃなかったでしたっけ？
もちろんお社様も了承してたそうよ。だから鬼隠しは無差別ではなく、神様が決めた生贄以外には誰もさらわなかったらしいし、ほとんどの場合は一人か二人だったって記されてるわね。
A village inhabited by those both human and inhuman. It was like the heartwarming episode's colors had inverted, like a negative film, revealing the painful and ugly truth.
そうして生贄をさらってきた夜にはね、哀れな犠牲者をおいしくいただくため、綿流しの儀式が開かれたというわ。
Watanagashi, tonight's festival was Watanagashi. I just couldn't reconcile the fun festival with the horrible tale Takano-san was telling me.
綿流しは確か冬の間に使った布団なんかに感謝するお祭りじゃなかったでしたっけ？
The futons.
ケイちゃん、綿って言いません？臓物のこと。
Shion, who had been silent until now, spoke up.
綿？そういえば言うな。魚の綿っていう。え？
Oh boy. So, like I was saying that maybe we're gonna get to see something here when it comes to the Watanagashi festival. Like, I did say that I was gonna talk about it, so might as well just say it like right now. That whole thing that we did in the first chapter with sacrificing pieces of the futon, like all the villagers, like putting the pieces of the futon like on the river for it to flow away. Well, what if there is something more to those futons and cottons and such than one may realize? What if there is something inside those cottons and futons that we clearly have not seen? Some pieces of the sacrifice that people have done for the Watanagashi festival. So yeah, you guys may realize what I'm trying to say over here, especially when it comes to dismemberments and such. It's not a foreign idea, since we know the dismemberment from 1979. Maybe there is some form of dismemberment going on when it comes to Watanagashi and those cotton pieces. Now, I did also mention that, okay, maybe this is something that happened with the first years and such. But what about chapter 1? Tomitake died after the festival. And we've seen Mio Takano disappear, like, after we talked to her. Like, during the Watanagashi festival, after we've done that whole ritual thing with the cotton and the river. That was after that. So, are you saying that someone else died? Oh. Like a jigsaw puzzle. The fun times I had today and Takano-san's grotesque tale clicked together in my mind.
綿流し。
Gut spilling. I didn't think saying that could ever feel so nauseating.
そう、前原くんの想像している通りよ。今でこそ綿流しは毎年6月に行われるちょっと早い夏祭りに過ぎないけど、昔は違った。哀れな食材をさらってきた夜にだけ開かれた凄惨な人食いの宴のことだったの。
嘘だ。
I had no real reason to say that, but I couldn't help it.
前原くんはさっき綿流しは布団を清める儀式だと言ったわね。綿が詰まった布団って何を意味してると思うかしら？
布団は布団だろう。寝具、寝るための道具だよ。他に何の意味があるんだよ。
I was writing on, desperately attempting to deny the horrible festival that Takano-san was describing. And that whole thing about the bodies floating in the water 3 days and 3 nights. That's what the cottons were used for. To hold the pieces, the guts of the body. Like, making them float over the water for a period of time. Deep down, however, I found myself understanding all too well what she meant. Futons, stuffed with cotton. the cotton represented entrails in both pronunciation and meaning, then entrail-filled futons would have to be humans.
ではリカちゃんがやった奉納演舞を思い出してちょうだい。リカちゃんがあそこで何をしていたか分かってくる？
She was blessing the bodies of the sacrifices. She was purifying the body sacrifices for the demons.
わからねえよ。第一、リカちゃんの演舞は最後までちゃんと見てないし。
ケイちゃん、エキサイトしすぎです。
Sean grabbed one of my ears, reminding me that this wasn't somewhere I should raise my voice. Even so, I still can't suppress this agitation I feel.
リカちゃんが持っていた祭事用のクワ、もううすうすは気づいてると思うけど、あれは田畑を耕すクワではなくて、人間の腹をこじ開けるための解剖道具なのよ。
I didn't see the dance all the way through, so I don't know what kind of performance Rika-chan was putting on after I left. When I told this to Takano-san, she kindly explained Rika-chan's dance to me. To summarize what she said, after what I'd seen, Rika-chan would pierce the futons with that hoe, cut them open, and pull out the cotton inside. She'd cut the cotton out, one bit at a time, and set it afloat. That's the kind of ritual it was.
平たく言えば、魚の綿を取り出して三角コーナーに捨てるのを仰々しく儀式仕立てにしたってことね。それで儀式はおしまい。その後はそれぞれの役割を持った村人たちがおのおのに肉を解体しておいしくいただいたって考えられてるわね。
At Takano-san's strangely happy giggle, I felt for some reason violent displeasure. Rika-chan. Every day during our lunch break, she'd take a rice-pounding mallet into the schoolyard, and she'd work so hard, sweating bullets, to practice for the offertory dance she had done today. All that effort, all that work, Takano-san disgraced it. Even though she worked so hard to practice for today.
高野さんももう少し言葉を選んでほしいです。ケイちゃん、ナイーブなんですから、あまりからかわないでください。
A moment before I opened my mouth to express how angry I was, Shion stopped me. Shion must have been fully aware of how that story made me feel.
ごめんなさい。男の子だからショッキングな話は結構好きかと思って。
Takano-san spoke without a hint of malice, as she smiled gracefully.
この辺まで話を聞けば、ケイちゃんにもこの最後殿の中にどういうものがあるのか理解できるようになってきませんか？ほら。
Shion pointed out one of the walls vaguely illuminated by the lantern's light. There was, mere moments ago, the end held my interest. They were just boring-looking tools lined up on the shelves. All those uninteresting tools that I didn't understand how to use. The all suddenly took on a new meaning. I couldn't help but let out a groan. At first they had looked like carpentry tools, like chisels or planes. When I thought back, I'd seen pictures of these sorts of tools before. Yeah, they came up in Japanese history textbook. Yeah, on the page introducing the Kaitai Shinsho, or the new text on anatomy.
こういうのはね、医学の本場、ドイツの文献の方がリアルに掲載されてるわよ。
These aren't carpentry tools. These strangely shaped tools. They're for dissection. Everyone knows that in the Edo period, they would dissect the corpses of those who had been put to death in order to gain knowledge about Western medical techniques. Illustrations of the dissection tools they used at the time came up in textbook supplements. The things up on this wall all looked exactly the same as those.
もっと怖い言い方をするなら調理道具といったところかしらね。
Takano-san, holding the lantern, the only light source in the room, led us along the wall. She had the only light, so I had to walk after her whether I liked it or not.
ほら、
Takano-san illuminated a coiled chain which left a bigger impression than the other things we saw. The chain in itself was nothing unusual, but further along it were metal feathers that were like hinges, clearly meant for binding people.
ケイちゃん、あれ。
Shion tapped me on the shoulder and pointed to a restraining table. It was clearly shaped like a person. My spine froze. My blood felt like it was turning into sherbet as it crawled up my back. On each of the joints, there were things like chains and iron balls attached. It was like the table was searching for its next sacrifice, ready to spread their arms wide and close them in.
多分まな板じゃないかしら。犠牲者を拘束してこの台の上でお料理をしたんだと思うわね。
The words chopping block sent a jolt through my body. When I looked more closely, there were many dark slices carved into it, as through from a knife or saw. They were the most clear-cut signs of usage you could ask for. They proved these tools weren't just for show, that you used for their original purpose. If someone was strapped tightly onto this table, they probably wouldn't be able to even move one's muscle. Their guts would be defenseless. You take one of those eerie cooking knives lined up over there, stab them with it, and then you'd slice open their belly and dissect them.
話には聞いてたけど、すごい。
Before coming here, Shion had mentioned she had a good guess of what was inside, but it seems to have exceeded her imagination.
まだまだあるわよ。
And there's more?
どう？老人形館より面白いでしょ。
Takano-san had this happy expression like she was visiting a toy store for the first time. I don't get it. And this Mio Takano person has nerves of steel. Are these bizarre, grotesque objects that fascinating to her? I, for one, was not enjoying myself. I'll be frank, this was all too weird for me. Still, there was something even more horrifying than all this. That would be none other than Takano-san herself. Takano-san, holding the lantern giving off such a thin beam of light. If she suddenly turned it off, then I would... What would I do when the next moment everything went totally dark? That's why I was scared. Takano-san had the only light. And anyway, I was scared. At some point, Shion had started holding onto my shirt sleeve. It was a little annoying to walk like that, but I didn't shake her off. That minor sensation allowed me to feel the presence of an ally here and now. Before we even walked halfway through the store, the air I felt on my skin changed completely. These cruel tools lined up, all crammed together in this place. Some were horrible ones made to take away sacrifices' freedom, and some were tools made to efficiently disassemble and prepare their bodies for consumption. And those were just the things I understood. There were plenty of other strange-looking objects that I couldn't even guess the purpose of. Now that I was here, I didn't even have the slightest desire to hear the details about what sort of terrifying reasons they were meant to be used for. At the very least, they were all completely different from the sort of clean, simple killing function of a katana. tools to kill people were obviously constructed in such a way that they could kill people. If that was the goal, then the person you used them on would obviously end up dead. The kind of tools here, however, were different. True. Like, the way it was described, you would just kill people and disassemble them, just like that. I mean, even so, you could just chop their heads and then some, but you have that table right over there too, to hold the body in place. If you want to offer somebody as a sacrifice, would you really want to torture them too? You wouldn't need a table like that to just kill someone and make them a sacrifice. That table is literally meant for torture as well. The tools that were here were for cutting people, for crushing them, for boiling them and cooking them, and for grinding them. They were tools of torture. They weren't made to kill people. People dying was just an incidental result. Actually, they might not even kill them. The sacrifices could die during such a horrifying ritual process. That would be nice, but they don't even die in the end. They remain in a state of hellish pain. Perhaps they were only being allowed to live. Only now in this moment did I fully realize just how terrifying and fearsome that difference was.
人ってね、上手にやると結構殺さずに済むものらしいの。
Takano-san, as if reading my mind, displayed a shocking smile.
魔女狩りで有名な家系。火あぶりなんかはすぐに死んじゃうのよ。全身の皮膚が広範囲にわたって重度のやけどを負うと、組織の分解産物で中毒症状を引き起こし、重度なショックを併発しちゃうから。まあ確かにそれに至るまでがギロチンなんかに比べればはるかに長いところに残虐性があるんだけど。
She described such horrors in a strangely medical way. She immediately answered the question I had.
高野さん、看護師さんですから。
There's a saying that nothing can scare a doctor. I guess it's true.
ところがね、ローマの時代の処刑方法にね、網焼きというものがあったの。バーベキューと同じにね、金網で挟みつけて炭火でじっくりと焼いたんですって。
To think the memories of when I went to a day camp with my family would come rushing back now of all times, so vividly.
これだとね、どういうわけかなかなか死なないらしいのよ。ものの本によると、一昼夜かけて片側が炭化するくらいこんがり焼いてもまだ意識があって流暢に話をしたなんて記述も出てくるから。
That is horrible. That's insane. You grill someone the whole day and they'd still be conscious. It's said that ancient Rome, famous for their executions, thought of plenty of ways to execute someone while having the victim stay alive as long as possible.
その中にね、
Man, you know, from that way of looking at it, I'm glad that I'm living in the 21st century, not gonna lie. Thank God that I never lived in during those times.
お腹を開いて腸をウインナーみたいに引っ張り出してウインチで引っ張り上げて晒し物にする刑があったんですって。
People truly were horrifying back then. Shiona was behind me, clinging to me. Not just because she was scared. She was protecting her stomach.
臓物を引っ張り出すなんて聞いただけでもすぐに死んじゃいそうでしょ。でもね、 丁寧に優しくやるとね、意識がはっきりとした状態のまま腹渡を引きずり出すことって可能らしいのよ。
I felt a sick feeling in my stomach. It was like my organs were coiling up just from Takano-san's stare.
ウィンチで引っ張り出すっていうのはなんだか大行な方法だけど、もっと野蛮に裂いた腹から臓物をちぎっては投げちぎっては投げという、そんな恐ろしい刑もあったんじゃないかって十分に考えられない？でも処刑者には意識があるの。それは痛い以上に恐ろしい体験なんでしょうね。
She spoke with pleasure, as if she had come here on a sightseeing trip. I heard Shion gulping multiple times near my ears.
ひなみざわの、いえ、鬼ヶ淵村の綿流しもそんな感じだったのかしらね。ほら、耳を澄ませば聞こえてくるような気がしない？
I wanted nothing more than to not hear anything at all. So why? Why only at times like these do I begin to hear things I shouldn't be able to? Takano-san, having realized she'd scared Shion and I enough at this point, smiled soothingly. And then she turned on her heel, raised the lantern, and began to walk again. If Takano-san left us here, we'd get even further away from the light. Shion and I, no matter how scared we were forced to follow Takano-san along on her field trip through the ritual storehouse.
これで軽く一周できたかしらね。面白いところでしょ。
She says, raising the lantern high in the center of the storehouse. The dim lighting didn't change, but for some reason it felt like I was able to see all of those horrible tools at once.
ケイちゃん、
Huh?
上。
Sean stammered while grabbing the nape of my neck. I couldn't tell because it was so dark, but there were a lot more tools hanging from the ceiling as well. They all looked like they were made of iron bars. But then I figured it out. Cages. For cages, they were very small. Crammed cages just for one, like a casket. If you got locked up in there... No, you wouldn't get locked up inside it. It was another tool meant for restraining people, where the iron bars would squeeze you tightly. All the so many big and large things of all shapes were hanging down. Takano-san's mention of execution by gritting crosses my mind. We weren't just surrounded on all sides by these terrifying instruments. Things crowding the ceiling were even hanging over our heads.
ヨーロッパの拷問道具にこういった鳥かごがたくさん登場するわね。日本にもあったなんて驚きだわ。
Yeah, don't even get me started on those kinds of torture devices.
ケイちゃん、あれ、中に入ってない？人？ミイラ？
どれ？
Huh? Sean displayed pointed to one of the many human-sized bird cages hanging from the ceiling. But I couldn't tell which one she meant. Being that dark, there wasn't any way you could tell if something was there in the first place.
私には何も見えないけど、見間違いじゃないの
Sean didn't seem convinced. But without a means to confirm for ourselves, we couldn't do much but wonder.
これで前原君にもなんとなく信じられるようになったんじゃないかしら。 Hinamizawaに伝えられる恐ろしい儀式の数々が。
It's got nothing to do with believing in them. Now that I've been shown the real thing like this, there's no possible way to deny it. Even the nations of Europe, with all their beautiful landscapes and legends, were like a maelstrom during the terrible witch hunts in the Dark Ages. It's well known that the era gave birth to countless gruesome forms of torture and execution. Japan was the same way. Didn't it have its own era of hellscape like torturous feasts because of religious suppression and things of that nature? Hinamizawa itself had such a period. It had that much history behind it. Even in Europe, land of the witch hunts, that was all far in the past, no more than a series of historical events, and in this age, nothing that abnormal would ever happen. That must apply to Hinamizawa as well.
中世の暗黒時代とかがそうだったように、Hinamizawaにも暗黒時代があった。そういうものなんだと解釈します。本当にHinamizawaでこういう恐ろしいことがあったのだとしても、それは大昔の出来事なんです。今暮らしているHinamizawaの人々とは何の関係もないことです。
前原くんは本当にHinamizawaが好きなのね。
It didn't sound like she was making fun of me. Takano-san gave me a light smile.
でも高野さんはその風習が実は現代にも残っているんじゃないかと思って研究をしてるんです。そうでしたよね。
Shion suggested something that made my heart leap into my throat. You tell me that all these horrible things are still going on even today?
これ本当に内緒なんだからね。しおんちゃんは理解のある人だから話したけど、他の村人には聞かれたくないの。
I mean, I won't deny the possibility that maybe this room was used for the dismemberment of that first person from 1979 during the damn protest. This place surely is a perfect one for that kind of event.
下手をしたら罰当たり者ってことで袋叩きにされかねないんだから。
She unflashed a devilish smile, as if reveling in the more immortality of it.
前原くんも内緒にしてね。
Yeah? Wait, did I say immortality? I meant, I guess it's immorality. Yeah, as if reveling in the immorality of it. Like, what the fuck did that mean? Flashed devilish smile as if reveling in the immorality of it.
知られたら私、お社様のたたりに会うか、生贄にされちゃうかするかもしれない。たたりなら、今年はどんな死に方をさせられちゃうのかしら。生贄なら、鬼ヶ淵の沼に生きたまま沈められちゃうのかしら。そういえば今夜よね。お社様のたたりがある夜は。
Lots of words to say coming from the person that just disappeared in the first chapter. In similar fashion to how she is describing it, Takano-san said, bringing her face right up close to ours. As if to say that if she had the choice, she'd rather suffer a curse. And that was what she seemed to be implying. Takano-san took a fairly worn notebook out of her paper bag, and then began to flip through its pages. There were all sorts of references and newspaper clippings attached to them. It had all manner of things written inside. The letters were very small and bunched together, so I couldn't tell at a glance what it was about.
本当は国会図書館で当時の新聞を探したいんだけどね。ほら、ここ。
A photocopy of a page from some book was slid into the notebook, and it too was written in small tight lettering. Like the other pages, I couldn't tell what it was about just by glancing at it.
これは実際にあったお話よ。明治の終わり頃にね、鬼ヶ淵村で身元不明の惨殺死体が発見されたんですって。
An old newspaper clipping attached to the page spoke of something that was no mere rumor or fairy tale.
当時の警察の資料がほとんど残ってないそうだから、口伝と記憶によるものだけなんだけどね。ほら、これ不鮮明だけど、明治の頃の新聞の切り抜きみたい。
Never before has there been a corpse treated with such cruelty and inhumanity. Could it be the work of a demon? Being a copy of a copy, it was very hard to make out, but it was more than enough to make me feel strangely tense. Near the end of the Meiji era, in old Onigafuchi village, a mangled corpse was discovered. The identity of the corpse was unknown. It wasn't even in a state where it could be identified in the first place. It was missing a head, and each limb was separated from the body. Skin had been peeled off the entire body, and there were markings that implied terrible torture in every place imaginable. All that, but the belly had been cut open by a sharp knife, with the entrails completely dragged out. The police seemingly began an investigation, but since they couldn't even determine the identity of the victim, much less the criminal, finding answers was extremely difficult.
どういう状況かわかるかしら?
I couldn't imagine such a strange sight, even if I tried. This is the first time I was ever thankful for my lack of imagination.
被害者は生きながらにして全身の皮を剥がれ、あらゆる拷問を受けていじめ殺されたんですって。そして死後にもさらに遺体を分解・解剖と残虐の限りを尽くしたのではないかって筆者は見ているわね。私はどの工程も生きているうちにやったんじゃないかって思ってるんだけどね。前原くんはどう思うかしら?
She spoke in a way intended to make me imagine even more vicious things. As my brain was already far over capacity, there was no way I could imagine anything more brutal. And when I broke my gaze from Takano-san's, those strangely shaped weird tools were all around us. I wonder if he could faithfully reproduce the mutilated corpse discovered at the end of the Meiji era, with the tools found in this place. I want to deny it. I don't want to admit that something so terrible could have happened at all. Even so, they were so strange, so terrifying. These tools. And as they had seen through my attempt to escape from them, they did nothing but ridicule me silently.
その薄気味悪い事件が何だって言うんですか?
筆者はね、鬼ヶ淵村の恐ろしい習慣は明治以降の近代。ひょっとすると昭和初期くらいまでは残ってたんじゃないかって結んでるわ。
This corpse, at a glance, appeared to have been brutally killed after a period of torture. In actuality, however, he was the pitiful sacrificial remains of the man-eater's terrifying feast. And the corpse was just leftovers. It was so fantastic, so strange, that it didn't feel real. Was this an extension of the legends too? I mean, it happened in the Meiji era, though. It's just too recent to be called a legend. Also, there's a newspaper clipping right here suggesting it.
でも本当にあったとしたって昔のことですよね。
I guess so. What Takano is showing us here, I remember when she talked about the legend of Onigafuchi, which happened much longer in the past. And we said, well, that happened a long time ago. right? There's no way that stuff like this is happening right now. And afterwards she's saying, oh, well, I wonder. That she is doing some research in trying to figure out if the customs are still present even today. And now she's showing us this, which happened even closer to present day, which would be at the beginning of the 1900s at this point. And we're still questioning, well, that still is a long time ago.
明治なんて言ったらそれこそ100年くらい前の。
たったよ。
100 years ago. So, it was in 1900s? Like at the beginning of 1900s?
たった100年前のことよ。それにね、昭和に入ってからだってあるんだから。
And now it's getting closer.
終戦直後に騒ぎになった缶詰疑惑。あ、ごめんなさい。
Post-war canned flesh incident.
この話はタブーだったわよね。
Takano-san immediately stopped talking as if worried about Shion. Shion briefly looked somewhat angry, but that expression soon disappeared.
え？今高野さんなんて言いました？缶詰疑惑って。
I surely do not like the sound of that. I don't think it's as tasty as a little can of meat that you can eat. Just then, there was a huge creaking noise. Everyone whipped around to look. He was talking to Ai-san, who had opened the door slightly.
驚かせちゃったかな。
あら、二郎さんも見たくて我慢できなくなったかしら？
僕は遠慮させてもらうよ。生来ね、こういうのは苦手なんだ。
Takano-san held her stomach and had to muffle her laughter, as if she wanted to make a comment about his masculinity.
それより、演舞とセレモニーが終わって、みんな沢の方に降りていったよ。あと何分もしないうちにお祭りは終わっちゃう。
Ah, yes. That part of the ceremony.
あら、いけない。前原くんがあまりにも聞き上手だから、またお話三昧になっちゃったわ。
I'd really rather you not mention me in a place like this.
二郎さんは表で待っててくれるかしら？私はちょっと写真を撮るわね。本当はいくつか道具を持って帰りたいんだけど、それはさすがに無理そうだからね。
Takano-san took a camera out of her paper bag and began to snap photographs. She looked like she was having fun, like she was on a scavenger hunt.
ん？ケイチ君も出るかい？
もう十分に見ましたので。シオン、もういいだろう。出ようぜ。綺麗な空気が吸いたいよ。
同感です。出ましょう。
I did feel a bit of hesitation after leaving Takano-san by herself in this darkness. Well, she does seem like the type of person that will just stay here for hours. For us, I think that this is enough. When I thought about it, though, I realized that whatever kinds of evil spirits and ghosts lurked in the darkness, none of them could hold a candle to how scary she was. Even if a phantasm were to appear, she'd be overjoyed and flash her camera at it. It seemed like Shion shared my somewhat rude mental images. We exchanged glances and smiled painfully. We left Takano-san there, bathed in her strobel camera flashes, and I decided to go leave the ritual storehouse. Alrighty then. Everyone at the festival seemed to have gone to the stream, so their voices were very distant. The voices of the bugs, on the other hand, were clear, lending an empty feeling of isolation to the place. I kinda wanna go to the stream right now, like, quickly, if we can.
どうだい？面白かったかい？
Tomitake-san gave us a somewhat mischievous grin. Should have been able to tell by looking at how pale our faces were.
富武さんと一緒に留守番をしてればよかったです。
Yeah, we literally turned into ghosts. That's how pale we are. I mean, especially the case for me, because I am as pale as a ghost myself. Nobunaga-san laughed so delightfully that it wiped away our dark feelings.
しおんちゃんはどうだったかな。怖かったかい？
一応心の準備があった分怖くはなかったですけど、でもやっぱり実物は迫力あります。
Shion spoke like she wasn't scared at all. She could have been quite afraid, but seeing as how I was in a way worse state than her, I didn't have much room to talk. As Nobunaga-san grinned candidly, my mind, exhausted and locked up by nervousness, began to calm itself.
高野さんはおとなしく見物してたかな。ほら、彼女子供っぽいところがあるだろう。宝の山を前にさぞや興奮してたんじゃないかと思ってね。
Both Shion and I laughed, and left that as our answer.
見るだけならいいんだけどね。こっそりと何かを持ち出したり、いじくりすぎて細具を壊したりしないかが心配なんだよ。
Right, that's quite possible. She is alone in there right now. She might pilfer something small and easily concealed, hiding it in her pocket.
やりかねないです。
Shion said what I was thinking.
本当に何も壊したりしなかったかな。なんだかドタンバタンと飛び跳ねるような音がよく聞こえたからね。僕は不安で。
ごめんなさい。フィルムがなくなっちゃったわ。二郎さん、フィルムが余ってたら分けてくれないかしら。
Takano-san suddenly appeared while we were talking about her, taking everyone by surprise. Tomitake-san smoothly grinned and responded as if nothing had happened. Someone jumping up and down? He's pretty mature.
もう予備のフィルムは切れちゃったよ。申し訳ないね。
もういついかなる時でもフィルムを残しておかないと決定的スクープ写真なんか撮れないわよ。仕方ないわね。
Tomitake-san scratched his head apologetically. Without film, we're done here. Takano-san seemed to have given up because of that too. We checked carefully to make sure we hadn't left anything inside, and then closed the door and turned to the heavy padlock we left beside it.
高野さん、何も持ち出してないだろうね。
失礼ね。そこまで子供じゃないつもりよ。
Kerclack. Tomitake set the padlock back to the way it was before. From a cursory glance, it didn't look like thieves had snuck in at all.
よし、僕たちも沢に行こう。綿を流すところくらいやらないとお祭りに来た意味がないよ。
Tomitake-san spoke brightly, urging us all on. Setting cotton afloat down the stream. I shake my head a few times, driving away my dismal thoughts as to the double meaning. Takano-san, looking a little let down, kept turning back to glance at the ritual storehouse.
もうこれっきりにしてくれよ。十分に知的好奇心は満たせただろう。
まさか。むしろ新しい興味を惹かれるような発見ばかりよ。今日のでこれまでの仮説が一気に現実になったわ。これで今後の調べ方がだいぶ変わってくるんだから。
Wow, she's truly indomitable. Her curiosity really is something else. Still interested in all this, through and through. Look at the cottons go. We descended the stone stairs and all the people crowding the stream came into view. Man, this looks like a really beautiful place. With that light too. Near the bottom of the stairs, we could clearly see people receiving cotton that had been cut out for them, then wishing upon the cotton and setting it afloat down the stream. The festival was already over.
まずったな。綿流しの一番いいところを撮影し損ねたよ。
あら、まだ遅くないわよ。私が行って流すんだから。私を撮ってはくださらないのかしら？
Takana-san, with an impish expression, brought her head to Tomitake-san's shoulder. Despite his age, he looked embarrassed. I felt an honest respect for Tomitake-san, man to man, for dating such a handful of a woman.
じゃあね。前原くん、しおんちゃんも。
僕たちは今からでも沢に行ってみるよ。
Alright, well, hopefully we'll get to see you soon.
君たちも一緒に来るかい？
まさかお二人の邪魔なんてできません。どうぞごゆっくり。
Shion waved her hand to them with an expression just as impish as Takano-san's. Oh, Tomitake-san on his part seemed to want us to come, but whatever. Shion gave a big stretch and sat down on the stone steps.
疲れちゃいました。
同感だな。俺も疲れた。
Alright, well, I guess Keiichi himself is not going to take part in setting some cotton afloat the stream. Obviously.
ケイちゃんは綿流し初めてなんですよね。私なんか気にしないで行ってきてください。
Oh,
私は疲れちゃったんで人混みはちょっとパスしておきます。
yeah. If we were to go now, we'd barely slip into the end of the cotton drifting ceremony.
お姉たちがケイちゃんのことを探してるかもしれませんから行ってきてください。
Okay. I was thinking that Keiichi is gonna stay here as well, but alright, maybe we're gonna be on time for that.
あ、そうだ。ミオンたちと別れたままそれっきりだったな。探してると悪い。
Then, Shion suddenly got a playful look on her face, then put her index finger to her lips, as if telling me to keep this a secret.
お姉ってすっごく嫉妬深いんです。私がケイちゃんを独占してたことがバレるといろいろうるさいんで、今夜のことは秘密にしておいてくださいね。
Keep tonight a secret. Don't say things that are so embarrassing.
そういう意味だけじゃないですよ。今夜私たちがしたことを思えば秘密にするのは当然です。今夜起こるかもしれないお社様のたたり、私たち4人が最有力候補なんですからね。
The loosening threads of tension became taut again. Shion, however, burst out laughing.
じゃあ私はお姉に出くわす前に退散します。今日は本当に疲れてるからお姉とやり合えるだけの体力はないですし。
シオンってミオンと仲がいいのか悪いのかよくわからないな。
Yeah, me neither.
仲いいですよ。
Though as she said that, her vague expression explained that there are a lot of oddities in the relationship between twins.
俺は一人っ子だからよくわかんないな。せいぜい仲良くしろよ。
はい、余計なおせっかいと受けたまわります。それじゃあ私はこの辺で。ケイちゃんも急いで行った方がいいですよ。本当に綿流しが終わっちゃいます。
Shion stood up and brushed the dust off her backside. After watching her do so, I returned my eyes to the final ceremony of the Watanagashi festival below me.
でも本当にあの音は何だったんでしょうね。不愉快というか気味が悪いというか。
何の音だって？
音ですよ。ドタンバタンってうるさかったじゃないですか。
I was giving her a blank expression, so Shion stared hard at me. Tomitake did also mention that he heard some sounds as if someone was jumping up and down and wanted to check. I stared hard at her too.
ごめんシオン。はしょらないで最初から説明してくれないか。何がうるさかったって？
ケイちゃん、あれ 気にならなかったんですか？
When all said and done, it was like we were speaking two different languages. Yeah, I mean, Keiichi personally didn't hear anything. Only Shion showed signs that she was distracted by something, like while the Tagano was talking there. She was like, huh? As if she heard something.
シオン、冗談抜きで初めから説明してくれないか。音がどうしたって？
ケイちゃんこそ冗談抜きで、本当に気にならなかったんですか？
Neither of us was giving any ground, and both of us were staring at the other in disbelief. We were asking questions with more questions, with no sign of an actual conversation in sight. Baffled, I had in the urge to shout at her, and asked politely one more time.
もう一度聞くからな。質問は俺からだ。
She nodded softly.
じゃあ聞くぞ。音がしたって何のことだ？
ドタンバタンって、なんだかどこか遠くの板の間で子供が跳ねてるような。
Yeah, same thing Tomitake said.
本当に気にならなかったんですか？
気にならないも何も。そんな音いつ聞こえた？
I mean, if Shion said this herself only, yeah, it would make you question, but since Tomitake said that, well, there is something to be questioned there. Or Shion just, well, maybe she's lying as she didn't hear anything, but she went with what Tomitake said and decided to build on top of that. Either way, this sounds suspicious. Like, what are these sounds?
俺は何も聞いてないぞ。
ちょっとケイちゃん、それ本気で言ってるんですか？
Also, a kid? Shion, as if she didn't understand my plain and simple answer, pressed me further, expression serious. I have no clue what she's talking about, but if it has Shion acting so like this, whatever it was, it gave me the creeps, and sent a chill down my spine.
さっき最後殿の中で高野さんと一緒に見て回ってる最中、高野さんが昔話を始めた頃からかな、少しずつだんだんとちょくちょくと。
She heard a banging sound, like a child jumping on distant floorboards.
嘘だろ？最後の最後で怖がらせるのはなしだぜ、おい。
I didn't hear anything at all. In fact, it was so utterly silent in there that my own heartbeat was almost deafening.
ケイちゃんこそ怖がらせないでください。なんだか高野さんの怖い話に合わせて音を立ててるようで、私ずっと薄気味悪かったんですから。
The chill rose from my spine to the back of my head. My blood turned cold as it crawled up my body. When I raised my hand, my mind froze over.
ケイちゃんも高野さんも全然意にも介さない風だったので、私も聞こえないふりをずっとしてましたけど、聞こえましたよね。何度かはすごく大きな音でしたから。
Shion's eyes were begging me to tell her I heard it. I had no doubt, however, that my own eyes suggested something entirely different. You gotta be kidding, Luke. In that storehouse, we were surrounded by brutal ritual tools that looked like they were from another planet, listening to terrifying old stories. The whole time, she ought to have been hearing a sound that we couldn't hear, by herself. Should that make Shion, who heard it, tremble? Or should it make me, who didn't hear it, tremble? I didn't know the answer to that at the time. For now, Shion seemed to have made that decision before I did.
なんだよ、突然。
引っかかりましたね、ケイちゃん。嘘ですよ。
はあ？
Shion laughed, saying how easily scared I was, and clapped me on the back. Her smile seemed somehow artificial, and actually made me feel worse. Then, after leaving me with 2 or 3 generic diplomatic goodbye phrases, she left. It was like she was running away. Alright, all I could do was look after her, my mouth agape. I did have a weird sensation inside that maybe there was somebody inside, that maybe there was someone else there. At the end of the day, I didn't have a clue what was going on. Shion laughed it off and said she had been lying, but she couldn't possibly have been lying. Well, of course not. And now that I think back, Tomitake-san said the same thing, didn't he? Yeah, he did.
なんだかドタンバタンと飛び跳ねるような音がよく聞こえたからね。僕は不安で不安で。
Tomitake-san, the most neutral party present at the time, had said he heard something. Then that noise, it was real. The banging sounds. Sounds as though a child was jumping up and down on some kind of floorboards, far away. Oyashiro-sama's curse, which happens every year, might happen again tonight. The most plausible victim candidates were Takano-san, Tomitake-san, Shion, and me. The bustling of the people sounded further away than I would have liked, and the sounds of the insects sounded too close for comfort. I'm near so much human warmth, and yet I can't ever go back there again. And that was the ominous idea that sprouted in my mind. Then, all of a sudden, I was pounced on from behind, causing my heart to lurch.
ケイチ、見つけたなのです。
It was Rika-chan. When I turned around, Mione ran over there too.
やっと見つけた。あとはさとこか。
今年はみんなはぐれちゃったね。来年からはちゃんと合流場所を決めておきたいな。
そうだね。やっぱりお祭りはみんなと一緒でないとね。
I listened to Mione's happy declaration with a little bit of guilt.
ケイチは僕の演舞はちゃんと応援してくれましたですか？
ああ、ちゃんと見てたぜ。最後までちゃんと頑張ったな。ミスもなかったし。
うん、そうだよリカちゃん。あんなのはミスのうちに入らないよ。
I tensed up as I realized I made a mistake on my own. Oh man. Mione slapped her hand onto my shoulder a little roughly. A gross sweat broke out over my whole body.
ケイちゃんはやった？綿をもらって沢に流した？
You haven't yet, right? Is what I could feel her saying. Without the courage to tell any more lines, I lifelessly shook my head.
あれ？そうなのケイチくん。早く行かないと終わっちゃうよ。終わっちゃうよ。
ごめん。初めてのお祭りだからさ。よくルールがわからなくて。
そうだったね。ごめん。
Mione took my hand and we started walking down the stone steps.
ねえケイちゃん。
なんだよ。
シオンには会わなかった？
My heart skipped another beat. Maybe Mione could sense my surprise from my hand.
いや、でも、姿を見たような。でも、ミオンとそっくりだからな。ミオンだったのかもしれないし。
そんなに間違えないでしょ？服装だって違うんだから。
そうだよな。
Mion's momentary silence was like a death grip upon me.
しょうがないな、シオンは。
まああいつのことだから放っておいても大丈夫かな。
Mion's expression returned to her former, usual smile, and we continued down the stone steps, her firmly pulling my hand along. What a festival this was.